It was a normal day for us at the facility.
Talking to our residents, they were also concerned about the winds because you can hear the noise through the building.
We were going to have an outing, which is where we take our patients out to the community. And that day we were actually headed towards the movies. And we noticed the fire from Palisades. And we were just like, wow, that's very big. Like, where is this going to head?
I share my office with the activist director who kept on saying, Martha, is this normal?
I had just gone home, washed my face to have dinner with my kids, when I received the first call from the charge nurse who was on duty.
And I will prepare dinner, and then I received my first call from my administrator, Miss Juana, and saying, stand by.
I got home, and literally 30 minutes later, I saw a picture on the chat, which there's fire behind the building.
And so we began to strategize on what is the plan, because it was pretty close to Pasadena, two of our facilities.
And then they were asking how many beds were available in each facility. So I responded, I have a lot of beds.
Use the dining room to gather everything in there and start getting patients in wheelchairs.
Little did I know that later that night I was going to be called like around 7:30 from my supervisor, just telling me like, hey, get the van and, you know, be ready.
I got a call from our maintenance guy, and this is saying that there is a fire in Two Palms, and we need to go.
I got a call from my supervisor. He called me, hey, Oscar, are you available? So we could go pick up some residents. I was like, yeah.
My coworker and myself, pretty much caravan in the same car, just drove to the location, not expecting to see a lot of flames everywhere.
As I get near the freeway, passing La Crescenta, I could smell it, I could see it. I said to myself, this is bigger than I thought.
I put my daughter in charge of my other kids, and my husband offered actually to drive me to work.
Calling Oscar, I was calling my boss, so I was coordinating Dr. Lee. So Dr. Lee held the fort, and he organized everything at the facility level, while the forward team, did the rescuing.
Tony, our administrator, is also in the Marine Corps. So I think he and I were kind of simpatico in this. I think we kind of communicated without a lot of verbal communication. We kind of took hints from each other, kind of played off each other where our strengths and where our weaknesses or needs were, and I kind of filled in the gaps.
By the time I got to the Pasadena area, it was just very smoky, the wind was blowing very hard. The drive was actually difficult.
The winds were terrible. The vehicle that I drive is very tall, so it was just like constantly like pushing me over.
Anything beyond 10, 20 feet I couldn't see, so I used my cell phone to find the facility.
When we got to very close to the building, the street next to it, there was fires pretty much all around.
I didn't know what I was going into or find, but I thought in my mind that I had to be there. No one was gonna tell me otherwise.
I remember telling my husband, I'll guide you. And he says, you cannot see anything. I said, I'll guide you, but I need to make it to my patients.
Multiple fires on the way there, and even approaching the facility, there was like so much smoke. I'm like, oh my gosh, should I even be going this way?
We got there, it was pitch black.
We had no flashlights, it was our phones.
My fear was we were going to be in the middle of a ring of fire and not be able to evade.
Some of my nurses were already getting them out of the building to start the evacuation.
By the time I got to the facility, the smoke was already inside the building.
So we just run and got into the room. We started bringing the people out.
So we took out all the patients from all the way to the end of the building, all the way to the front.
I went to the first room on the right, and I evacuated the two patients that were there. We pulled the patients out.
It was just hard to breathe and hard to see.
We were just pulling out the beds like rolling the beds out.
In the line of patients that were outside, I saw some praying, some just closing their eyes, some trying to cover themselves.
Some residents were screaming, and some residents they were like, I don't want to go, I want to stay. And I was like, you can stay.
We were carrying people and trying to sit them into the vans as fast as we could, secure them with their seatbelt.
Every time going in, and there was embers flying all over the place.
Not as much heat, but you could feel a lot of embers just hitting you from your head and your face.
It was very emotional. I'm thinking that I have family out, and maybe I could perish there. I mean, it was crazy.
Thinking back on that, I could have not made it home.
When we got to the front of the building, there were already cars lined up.
As soon as I got there, I just parked right in front of the building, and they just, oh, good, another vehicle.
And we just were lifting people and just getting them into cars.
I made sure they weren't by themselves because that was their fear, being left alone.
I was constantly going back to the ones I did have in my vehicle and letting them know, hey, you're okay. You're okay.
We actually had patients from in their 60s. Our oldest lady that was evacuated, 103.
I left with my colleague with the last two patients, and the police told us no one's in the building.
We couldn't drive to our sister facility anymore, so we had to go to Santa Anita in Temple City, and our drive there with our patients, trying to calm them down.
From there, it was just making sure that they were safe and that we were able to account for every single life that we took out of that facility.
I went to Rose Garden, which is in Pasadena. As I park, I see like a fire, and I'm like, that looks close. I don't think this is a good idea.
I got a call around 6:30 in the morning from my supervisor, Oscar Cornejo, stating that he needed help.
Rose Garden actually was now in an evacuation zone in Pasadena.
Quickly jumped out of bed, rushed here to work, picked up the vehicle once again, and headed over. And same thing, super dark, couldn't see much around, lots of smoke.
By the time I got to the facility, the patients were lined up. So I did what I did the night before, and I'm like, we got to get these people out of here.
I jumped in my Honda Civic, probably the least practical car to bring to an evacuation, and drove to Pasadena, drove, over power lines, around trees.
And they said, we just need to get people out. So I told them I had room for 4 people in my car.
I helped load people into their cars. I also helped load medical supplies.
Started getting the patient's face sheets so that we knew who the patient was, what their order, kind of like a snapshot of all their identifying information, along with their current orders and medications.
We're putting people in those cars, and I'm like literally saying, okay, is that your Jeep? Okay, pull it around. We got to get them out of here. And just picking out like whatever minivans in the parking lot. Who owns this? Come on, let's go.
I was not really nervous. I sort of felt like I had something else driving me. And I could see things burning in the area as we were getting too close to the freeway. The sky was black. It didn't look like morning.
And after the third trip, when I arrived at that facility, again, it might have been 10 or noon by then. I don't even remember really. They pretty much just had a bunch of ambulances lined up to pick up all of these subacute patients at that point to also bring them here.
Luckily, nobody was injured and nobody was hurt.
The people that work here were just incredible. Everybody was just from every department helping out in all these different ways.
We had staff working around the clock, right, and well beyond their scheduled hours.
I'm surprised myself that I was able to run into a building like that was burning down in a way.
When I got home, the first thing, I went to grab my mom. I was like, what happened? I was like, there was a lot of people, Mama, that there was a fire. The facility. And I was like, we're trying to get other people out. He goes, you did something good. That is going to be with you all the time. I was like, thank you, Mama.
It was a team effort with my staff on site, with our nurses on charge, with the team that came and assisted us.
My son kept calling me that I'm a hero, and like he called me the Flash.
I wouldn't ever mind doing again. It was something that I would quickly jump for anytime.
It was chaotic, but it was really incredible to see people at their best. In a situation like that, to see people, what people are made of.
We're here together, that we're in this, we're here for you, we're here to support, and that, no man left behind, that we are here to continue to help in whatever way we can, big and small.